Huberman Lab expose uncovers the rot of mainstream media journalism. NBC News personalities have a complete meltdown at the hiring of ex-RNC chief Ronna McDaniel, and Diddy is not loving the situation he's in right now. This is Can't Cancel Rob Smith. Okay, so apparently the Huberman Lab has been stirring the pot with lots of girlfriends. Let's get into it. And before I even start talking about this, I gotta say, this is the pettiest, silliest, most inessential media gossip that I think has come out in the past couple of weeks, and I think it's absolutely delicious. I love every second of it. But we're going to get into, is this really journalistically important? Is this really an endeavor that's worthy of the New York Magazine? All right, so if you don't know who Andrew Huberman is, he is the host of the insanely popular Huberman Lab podcast. I think that podcast is so popular, I'm just somebody that has just become aware of it, I would say over the past year and a half. It's so insanely popular because it's one of the few podcasts that can actually give you information. It can give you things that you can use. All right. I think that's why it works. I think that's why a lot of people are into it. Andrew Huberman is this 48-year-old podcaster. He's super jacked. Apparently has had, some discrepancies in the past. If you Google shirtless photos of him, I mean, not that I've done that or anything, but they are out there. You're going to see a jacked dude with lots of tats, and you get the sense that there's a story there. Anyway, so he is a neuro researcher, I believe a tenured professor, has this insanely popular podcast that is about, we'll just call it male optimization. Okay, so he likes to teach everybody, but I think particularly men, how to optimize yourself health-wise, how to deal with dopamine, just all sorts of life hacks. He's got these productivity sort of habits that he gets into. He's huge on YouTube. He also happens to be, like I said, hot and jacked. And apparently his big crime, according to the New York Magazine, is that this hot, jacked 48-year-old multimillionaire who is a very famous podcaster is juggling 6 girlfriends at once. This is his big crime, having 6 girlfriends. And he's also, a bit of a weirdo from time to time. So this is coming from New York Magazine. I'm going to read you kind of some of the highlights. So look, it says, several women have come forward accusing neuroscientist and celebrated podcaster Andrew Huberman of manipulation, bizarre behavior, and infidelity that may have led to a sexually transmitted infection in at least one of them. The STI in question is HPV, which men can apparently be carriers of. This is something that you can get healed from. It's not something that is fatal, nor is it lifelong, but this is apparently the STI in question. Why this is any of our business, I'm not entirely sure, but I feel like it has something to do with the powers that be that want to sort of take him down a couple of pegs, because he's become insanely popular in a way that has nothing to do with them and in a way that they cannot control, right? This is what happens. So not only was all of this going on, he was also dating multiple women for years and making all of these women think that they were the only ones, which is actually, I got to tell you, I'm not jumping on any bandwagon, either anti or for these people. I don't know the dude. I'm not going to stop listening to his podcast. It's not going to stop having something to offer me. If this dude is a dick and a womanizer in his personal life, that has absolutely nothing to do with me. And also, I don't know why we live in this era of celebrities or podcasters or whatever you want to call it, that we just really need to believe that these are just, nice people, because some of these folks just aren't very nice. All right. I don't know. I'm not dating the guy. But what if he swung that way? Anyway, so he had dated, these 6 women, and had made a lot of these women think that he was very exclusive. And I remember there was a clip where apparently he was with one woman and then flew to another city to meet the other woman, and then apparently had some other woman coming in as the one woman was flying out the next morning. And I'm just thinking, dang, I need to try some of his productivity hacks. If he's able to juggle all these women and he's able to kind of like have them coming in and out and going back and forth, and by the way, still being able at 48 years old to perform with all of these women, what is he hawking again? What is this AG1? What is he selling? Because I want it. Or I want all of it. All jokes aside, apparently there were these behavioral patterns that Huberman is said to have exhibited that people close to him revealed to New York Mag. Apparently he has a penchant of disappearing for days on end. Apparently he had a friend, an anthropologist and an investigative journalist, fly out saying, we're going to go camping, we're going to do all this other stuff, and then basically left the dude at home alone with his dog for a day and a half, which is weird. And apparently he had told some of these women that he is not a sex addict, he is a love addict, which is admittedly like a great line. Let me use that one the next time I get caught, dating multiple men at the same time. But so that's just pretty much, who this guy is. Why? I think the question is, all right, and there's nothing, by the way, there's no sexual improprieties here. These women are not accusing this man of sexual assault, of making them feel uncomfortable, whatever. He's probably just a womanizer. News at 11, like hot, jacked, rich, multimillionaire podcaster is a womanizer. I believe that they did a same sort of piece on the Golden Bachelor guy. And apparently this guy was some jerk that was stringing a lot of different women along. Look, dudes are jerks sometimes. I don't know why this constitutes a front page story on New York Magazine. No, I do know why, actually. And it really does speak to the moment that our media is, and it's just the moment that the mainstream media is such a toxic moment. And this has a lot to do with the first of all, number one, is that, these magazines are not the institutions that they used to be. New York Magazine is not an institution that it used to be. They need to do something to generate clicks. They need to do something to get people talking about them. Surprise, surprise. Here we are, along with the rest of the internet, talking about Andrew Huberman's Huberman, if you will. All right? That's the name of the game nowadays. They need something to talk about. My theory is that this pitch went to a lot of different places where it's not that it didn't pass a smell test. It's not that any of this stuff is not true. It's just that probably it goes to the Beast or the Times or the Atlantic or all these other places. And they're like, bro, like, what is this? What are our readers going to do with this? But with the New York Magazine that needs clicks and needs people to talk about it, I get it. Furthermore, this seems to be a part of the pattern that happens. It seems like whenever there's a straight man that comes along, either white or white adjacent, like Andrew Tate, every time somebody comes along that is this stereotypically masculine man that is, and by the way, Huberman's not even like a masculinity bro podcaster. He just talks about neuroscience and working out and all this other stuff. He just physically fits the mold. All right. And it seems like every time one of these guys comes around that is jacked, that is in shape, that is obviously living his life in a certain way that makes him very successful, it seems like we have to have these sort of mainstream media outlets kind of conspiring to take him down. And this is about the mainstream media conspiring to take these men down, because you have to understand that the average male that reads New York Magazine probably has the estrogen levels of my grandmother. All right. This is like, your typical run of the mill New York City, Brooklyn, skinny jeans wearing hipster. Right. So like that is not a magazine for men. That is a magazine for angry young liberal women and the people that like to take down the Huberman types or the Andrew Tate types or the Joe Rogan types. Like, we've seen all of this stuff happen before. And another level to this that I think needs to be addressed is the fact that when you've got a Huberman Lab podcast, a ridiculously successful podcast that is giving people fixes to things that they're trying to deal with their health, right? In order to live a healthier lifestyle or to eliminate some of the ailments that plague us all. And it is doing that, by the way, without big pharma sponsorships. Actually, if you listen to a lot of these, we'll just call them science bro podcasts, a lot of them will tell you, and I think that this is very valid advice, a lot of these kind of science bro podcasts will tell you you always want to see how you can fix any issue you're having with yourself before you go right to a drug. And the pharmaceutical industry doesn't like that very much because at the point right now, I just read a news story about some pills that you can take that are supposed to replace exercise, right? These people want you to take a pill for everything. They want you to take Ozempic, which basically paralyzes your stomach to make you feel fuller faster. They want you to take that instead of having the discipline to just, watch what you eat and maybe work out. They want to put young kids on these things. So we have a society right now and we have a culture that is constantly pushing medicalization on you. If you're a gay dude and you don't want to wear condoms anymore, you can take a pill for that and make sure that you don't get HIV/AIDS. You can take a pill to make sure, that you don't get like chlamydia and all this other stuff. So in the absence of doing the work that you need to do to be a disciplined person, to stay in a certain shape or to live a certain lifestyle, there's a pill for everything. And I think that Big Pharma and I think that the people that want to push you pills for everything do not like somebody like Andrew Huberman. They don't like him. And I noticed that a lot of these stories that wrote this up, and particularly the New York Magazine story, it's very interesting because some of this stuff, and you can never prove this stuff, but if you have a lot of media literacy, a lot of this stuff it absolutely smacks of just like some lobbyist hit piece. Because a lot of these places mention the fact that he's a huge sponsor. Athletic Greens is a huge sponsor of his. I've taken Athletic Greens in the past. It seemed like a good way to, get like vitamins and my nutrients and stuff like that. I didn't continue doing it. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I wasn't, feeling like Popeye, after I took Athletic Greens. But it's almost like they want to delegitimize this person. And if they can take them down, if they can take him down, if they can alter or shift the way that you look at Andrew Huberman as a source for information, then they can undermine the information that's coming from him. I think that that's at a certain level what this is all about here. Like I said, same thing with Joe Rogan. And this information that he's giving out, this stuff is a direct threat to the pharmaceutical industry, to the medical lobbyists, to the FDA, to all of these different people who want you to take a pill or want you to be in some way medicalized for every ailment that you have. I remember Tucker did, and they've tried to take Tucker down for years, and Tucker Carlson, of course. They've tried to take him down for years and years and years, but I remember he did this series. This was back when he was still on Fox and he was doing these documentaries on his website. And there was this whole series, and I thought it was very interesting. I watched it. It was about the declining testosterone levels in men. And he's talking to a lot of these fitness bros, a lot of the science bros. You've got guys like, they sun their balls. They do all these different things that sort of naturally increase their testosterone. And they tried to make Tucker look like an idiot when the trailer for that came out. You have to understand that this is what the powers that be do, because you have to understand no matter what. And I don't care if you're Watchmen, I don't care if you're a lib, I don't care if you're conservative, I don't care if you're right, left, Republican, Democrat, like these things are becoming less and less relevant, and what's becoming more relevant are just facts, data, and truth. And the reality of the situation is that there is an entire system in this country, whether it's federal government system, whether it's pharmaceutical industry, that wants you to be dependent on medicalization. These are the same people that want to put young boys that can't stay still on Ritalin instead of just running them out around the track when they have too much energy in the classroom. And so people like Andrew Huberman, and for every Andrew Huberman, by the way, there's 20 or 30 that don't have his platform, like do not have a platform that large, but will still have a bunch of people watching them, okay? And they do not want you to watch these people. What they want you to do is they want you to listen to them. And that's why every single thing that we're going through as a country today, it always seems to come back to a group of people that used to control the flow of information that now are losing that control and want you to question getting your information from anybody but them. So that's what this Huberman Lab takedown is about. It has no basis in real journalistic ethics. There's nothing that's really that's necessary for people to know. Like, I don't need to know that Huberman's like banging 6 women at once and is manipulating them and do all this things. It doesn't matter. But somebody wanted to use that as a tool to take him down. I don't think it's going to work. From what I've been seeing on Twitter, from what I've been seeing, the type of like fitness bro and optimization bro that follows Andrew Huberman is going to be even more likely to take his advice after that hit piece. So New York Mag, I don't think you hit the nail on the head on this one. NBC News, that journalistic institution of America, is melting down. These people are having panic attacks and meltdowns over the hiring of former RNC head Ronna McDaniel as an NBC News contributor. Like I said, I keep on misspeaking. It's not NBC News, the institution. It's the personalities in the building that take themselves way too seriously and think that they are the arbiters of what is right and what is fact-based in America. And these people want you to know that they do not agree with NBC News hiring Ronna McDaniel to commentate because, gasp, she was a Republican, because, gasp, she ran the RNC for decades. Of course, institutional Republican that was born into a political family that ran the RNC for years and years and years. Of course, this person would have nothing to offer an audience interested in news and interested in how the political system works. Yeah. Leave it to, leave it to one of these other hacks that they hire. And I find it hysterical, by the way. These are the same people that are the colleagues of, and one of them, I'm going to show you a Jen Psaki meltdown in a little bit. Chuck Todd, he had a meltdown because nobody watches him anymore and he's been demoted. And it's just like, as somebody who has been in this world for a while, like, look, I got my graduate degree in journalism from Columbia, and I could have done all of that stuff if only I was just the typical black liberal. Like, if I was just the typical black liberal that was going to tell you that the federal government is your friend and that's going to tell you that all the ills of black people in this country were based on racism, I would probably have my own show on MSNBC right now. I didn't want to go that route because I'm not interested in that. I'm interested more in facts and truth. Anyway, so Chuck Todd is having, this meltdown. And by the way, NBC News, like these NBC News personalities, their colleague is Rachel Maddow, who basically spent years on MSNBC telling you, basically peddling you the Russian collusion lie. And now we all know I'm not one of those podcasters that really gets deep into all of that stuff. Like, you can go listen to War Room for that. But fundamentally, on a very high level, the Russian collusion, all of that stuff came from the Steele dossier, which was a lie that was funded by the Clinton people. Like I said, go to War Room, go to Bill O'Reilly, go to Newt Gingrich, like go to those people for all that. I don't do that here. It's too much. It's too much. But Rachel Maddow used NBC News airwaves, MSNBC, to push this stuff for 2 years. She also pushed one of the biggest whoppers that will come from the COVID era, where she sat here and she had a stone face and she wanted you to know that I am Rachel Maddow. You listen to me because I am going to tell you the truth. If you take this COVID vaccine shot, it stops COVID in its tracks. And so now the lie detector test determined that that was a lie. We all know that people that got the COVID vaccine were reinfected with COVID, some 2, 3, sometimes even 4 times. Facts, pure facts. I'm not going to get fact checked for this. I'm not going to get YouTube to take me down. These are the facts that we're allowed to say now that it has been reported by the arbiters of facts and truth. So back to these NBC News people. This is the same network, by the way. These people, not only is their colleague Rachel Maddow, who peddles lies for, the Biden administration, for the sort of DNC media apparatus coming out of DC. The biggest star on NBC News is Nicole Wallace. Nicole Wallace used to work in the George W. Bush administration, peddling the lies that got us into the Iraq War. And this is their biggest star. And so Chuck Todd and Jen Psaki, who I'm about to tell you, they're not worried about any of these people. Oh, no, they're worried about Ronna McDaniel because she may have engaged in wrongthink when it comes to the improprieties in the 2020 election. So I'm going to play you a clip. This is these people are so... I think that when you live in that bubble for so long and you've got an army of people who never tell you no, that never tell you that you're wrong. And by the way, there's no dissent on NBC News. There are no Republican voices. You know, they'll have a Liz Cheney on. They'll have Adam Kinzinger. They'll have Michael Steele. They'll have Republican people whose job is basically to bash sort of Trump Republicans and the MAGA crowd and all that stuff. But, you know, there's no Republicans from the MAGA crowd that come on there. Ronna McDaniel is the closest they'll get. And by the way, the MAGA Republicans hate Ronna McDaniel because she was raising all this money for the RNC that went absolutely nowhere but to her Lululemons and her blowouts. Not to say that Laura Trump and Michael Whatley are going to be any different at the RNC because they're just going to be funneling money to Trump's legal fees. And I told you guys that, and you guys hated me for saying that. And then the facts came out that that's exactly what's going to happen. And people still hate me for saying the truth. When you speak in real truth and real facts, everybody's going to hate you. But anyway, this is Jen Psaki whining about Ronna McDaniel at NBC News.
You may have seen some news over the last few days about the hiring of former RNC chair Ronna McDaniel as an NBC News contributor. And some, mainly in the right-wing ecosystem, have made the comparison to others who have come from government or politics into the media, including me. And that is a comparison I felt like I had to address. I got into public service for the same reason that many people do, to serve the American people.
All right, stop. I was going to play 2 minutes. I can't even listen. I can't listen to any more. This is like Pravda. I can't listen to any more of this. Look, there's about to be about another minute and a half of her telling you that she's involved in public service and that she came from peddling lies for the Biden administration right into peddling lies on MSNBC for the Biden administration because she has a deep sense of public service. Obviously, that's not true. She's a propagandist. And whether or not Ronna McDaniel is going as an NBC News contributor to do propaganda for the Republican Party is a valid question. It is likely that she is. It is very likely. When you look at sort of this revolving door in our legacy media, from people that worked in the government to going right to these news, quote unquote, news outlets as paid contributors, as national security analysts, as whatever, I think that I'll do an episode one time really breaking down the business model to this. There was a clip that I shared on my Facebook page back when I was doing politics there. And there's this clip of Paris Denard, who is a black Republican that has been doing the media commentary thing for the Republican Party for a very long time. And he's talking to somebody else on on CNN. And this person got flipped out when Paris basically exposed the fact that this person is taking money from who knows where to come on camera and to peddle whatever is valid to the people that are giving him money. And by the way, there's nothing in, even if you look at a Jen Psaki, there's likely nothing in her contract that says that she can't consult. A lot of these contributors consult. Who do you think that she's consulting for? When you're on a cable news network like that, it's basically a commercial for your hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of consulting. That's what people don't understand about this industry. So all of these hacks whining that perhaps there's going to be a Republican doing propaganda on their airwaves as opposed to all of the Democrats that they have doing propaganda on their airwaves is definitely, that's one for the books, people. These people have zero self-awareness. And the thing that they are the most afraid of, the thing that really perplexes them the most, the thing that vexes them the most is that their audience, who they have trained to only get a certain thing. That is the problem with a lot of these media sources right now, both on right and left, that you're training your audience to only expect one thing. They're training their audience to get whatever the Democrat line is on all of these different things. And the biggest problem with that is that they just become propaganda outlets and nobody's getting any real truth. If you want to get any real truth nowadays, you have to make sure that you're consuming things from both right, left, and center. because you're going to get one version of the truth from the left. You're going to get another version from the right. And somewhere in the middle is the truth. These people are not afraid of Ronna McDaniel lying to their audience. They're afraid that their audience is going to get exposed to different lies than the lies that they are generally exposed to, which is why they're in such an uproar. All right, y'all, Diddy is not loving the things that are happening right now. This is happening very, very quick. I'm just going to get into the New York Post story. His LA and Miami homes have been raided by federal agents as a part of a sex trafficking probe. This is news. I'm giving this to you from the Post, but this has been reported everywhere. Diddy's homes in LA and Miami were raided Monday as a part of a federal sex trafficking investigation. The raid was made by Homeland Security Investigations in the Holmby Hills area of Los Angeles, with federal agents pictured coming out of the home with boxes and bags of evidence, including electronics. Now in Miami, his home was also raided as a part of the same operation. You've got photos of people taking boxes out of the house. You've got, helicopters and all that stuff. There was a very funny a little clip on social media that was leaked. This black dude's in a car, driving. He's kind of like coming out of the window. He's not driving, somebody else is driving. And he's like, man, I saw all kinds of crazy stuff. I saw buses of people going in there. I saw minors going in there. If I'm his neighbor and if my basketball rolled in there, I just went ahead and let it go because I'd rather do that than knock on the door. And that's like real. Like, this is his neighbor. This is a clip that went viral. All of this stuff has been bubbling up for Diddy for a very long time. Now, just a couple months ago, Cassie, the R&B singer Cassie is one of those like celebrities that only black people know. Like, if you're black, you probably know who Cassie is. If you're not black, you probably have never heard this name before like 3 months ago. Cassie got cashed out because she was suing Diddy. And apparently there were talks that were going on behind the scenes that she had wanted to the tune of something like $100 million, like whatever. She actually did go public with this. Apparently those talks broke down and she went ahead and basically went public with this stuff. And I'm going to tell you some of the stuff that was in this stuff. So Cassie, this is an R&B singer. And if you know anything about R&B, Cassie was photographed with Diddy for years. She broke into the industry. She was 19. She had the song Me and You. It doesn't sound like that, but that's the song she had. Sounded a little better than that, but not much better because she wasn't much of a singer. She's a beautiful girl, though. So you saw her on all these red carpets with Diddy. You saw her at the Met Gala. You saw her doing all these different things. So she came out and it said that he had subjected her to a pattern of control and abuse over about a decade. She said that she was made to interact sexually with sex workers while Diddy watched. She was drugged and made to be drunk and flown all these different places all over the world. So all of this stuff, when it came out, this is giving like Epstein vibes when it comes to Diddy. Now, I think that she had engaged behind the scenes and he said, go kick rocks, because he did not think that she was ever going to go public. And for a woman to go public with the types of things that were in that lawsuit that all came out, like all of the stuff, I believe that there was something now allegedly in that lawsuit that said that Diddy had given her STDs and like all the, like just crazy stuff, crazy stuff. He had beat her. He made her shave her head. Remember when she had she shaved the side of her head, all of this other stuff. As soon as that news went out and as soon as people started reporting on that lawsuit, that got shut down and they settled. The number wasn't out there, but I think that she was asking for $100 million. He was offering 30. They probably ended up somewhere in the middle. So Cassie's chilling and obviously has not said anything about this. So I brought that up to say that this stuff, this sort of Epstein vibes with Diddy have been going on for years. And 50 Cent is always, calling Diddy gay. And now, instead of saying no homo, they say no Diddy, which, I'm gay. I think it's funny. I don't get too offended about stuff like that. So this is where we are. So now, apparently, Usher is saying that he saw curious things taking place at the house. Now, Allegedly, we're getting gossip right now. Allegedly, these are all allegedly. I'm not trying to get Usher and Justin Bieber's lawyers on me. Allegedly, there have been rumors for a very long time about Usher grooming Justin Bieber when he came into the industry when he was very young. There is video of Diddy and a very young Justin Bieber. Basically, Diddy, I think Justin Bieber's 15 at the time. He's like, yeah, we're going to hang out for 48 hours. We're going to let y'all know what we're going to do, all this other stuff. So this stuff was all going on for a very long time. So now Usher is simply trying to get ahead of something because, Usher's been connected to Diddy for a very long time. Usher claims that he saw, quote, very curious things taking place at Diddy's New York mansion when he was sent to live with him for a year at the age of 14. Now think about that. Why is a 14-year-old boy going to live with Diddy for a year? Now, granted, I get, getting him to the industry, A&R, all that other stuff. But we got this Nickelodeon documentary that just came out, Quiet on Set, talking about how all those kids were groomed and abused for years, the child actors, on the Nickelodeon show. There are very curious things that happen with and barely post-pubescent children that are sucked up into that Hollywood world, particularly the music industry. So now Usher's saying that he told Howard Stern in a resurfaced 2016 interview where he asked a shock jock, do you understand what that's like? And Stern said that he expected that, quote, the place was filled with chicks and orgying nonstop, right? And then Usher said, I got a chance to see some things. I don't know if I could indulge or even understand what I was looking at. It was pretty wild. It was crazy. There were very curious things taking place, and I didn't necessarily understand it. End quote. Asked whether he would send his own kids to Puffy Flavor Camp, which is apparently what this was called when they sent the young kids, Usher exclaimed, hell no. So this is where we are with this. So my theory about this whole Diddy thing, about what's going on right now, is I feel like, and a lot of people feel like this as well, Diddy is taking the fall for something that is bigger than him, because this pedo stuff and all these Hollywood celebrities and these old men and all this other stuff, it's all out there. All right. And we all know that there's some weirdness. And now people are starting to talk about the Quiet on the Set documentary, this stuff that's going on with Diddy. And we're going to find out over the next year and a half, that is an empire and a legacy that is done. And that is one of the greatest empires in R&B hip hop music that he built. That is over because this is somebody who obviously could not control his sexual improprieties. Whether those improprieties are for underage people, we don't know. That's all allegedly. I don't think it's too far of a reach when you look at some of the stuff that Usher was saying that he had seen when he was 14. When you look at how uncomfortable Justin Bieber is looking in some of these resurfaced videos. So it'll be very interesting. This will all come out. Diddy's going down. He's done. He's done. And apparently they don't know, whether he was on the private jet and he wasn't on the private jet. They don't know if he's going to get out of the country. They don't know what's going on, but he's done. And all of this stuff will come out, and he will be the one that is taking the fall for things that are above him. This is what I believe to be true. Diddy's not loving this, and it's sad. And let me tell you something. And I just sort of made a reference to this. Young men. These sort of, when you get way too much into, the sex and having everything and all these girls and all these men and all these whatever and all this other stuff, those things can destroy you. It's happened too many times. We're seeing this happen before our very eyes with Diddy. So young men, you got a little something, you're getting a little something, you're making a little money, you got a couple people around, all of this other stuff, it'll take you down. Don't go out like Diddy. Very, very sad case. All right, Problematics, please, if you are on youtube.com/@Can'tCancelRobSmith, please watch and subscribe. Helps the algorithm, helps me out. You can find us, like I said, on youtube.com/@Can'tCancelRobSmith. And if you are listening, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeart Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. So I'll see you next time.